everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are going to give it just a couple of minutes for people to keep joining. Our participant list is going up quite quickly. So as people are joining, just quick little, I guess, orientation to today's panel meeting. We are going to be taking questions through the Q&A option. So you can put in your questions throughout the panel discussion. We're going to start with an overview of where we are at the bargaining table, what impasse means, the importance of our strike authorization vote, what that means, and some Q&A, like our most often asked questions, and then we are going to be answering your questions. So it looks like our participant list is still going up. We have quite a few people who registered for today's seminar. So I see that Tim has his hand up. Yes, Tim. Are our guests able to ask questions? Okay, wonderful.
That was an accident, sorry.
Oh, okay.
We should probably just keep it to panelists other than the Q&A.
Sounds good. All right. So it's about 12:02. If you're ready, Jesse, I will hand it off to you to get us started.
Yeah. So while I'm doing this, if folks can watch the Q&A, let's see. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to read our little thing here. Oh, wait, that's the list of all our tentative agreements. All right. So the current state of the table and why we would call for a strike. To make serious economic gains, primarily focusing on gaining a living wage and increasing the minimum wage at OHSU. That's why we're at this point and why we're doing this escalation. We will weigh the immediate cost to members versus long-term gains and to decide whether we're going to go on strike or not. This is just the authorization vote. We would not strike over procedural language, but we are looking at things like across-the-board wages and a combination of the large economic asks. While we are doing this, we are still working on non-economic but important articles like layoff language. We have called impasse. And impasse means that we believe we are unable to reach an agreement with OHSU at the table in mediation. This moves us into a stage where each party offers their last best final offer and a full costing of the contract proposals to the Employment Relations Board. We will then move into a 30-day cooling off period where we continue to meet with the employer but will not strike until that 30 days have passed. That doesn't mean we have to strike when the 30 days have passed. That's just we're not allowed to during that window. At that point, we can issue a 10-day notice that we are prepared to strike if we have the power to do so. And how do we get that power? Well, strike authorization vote. Every vote matters because our union is a democracy, and we cannot and will not call for a vote call for a strike unless the majority of our membership tells us that's what they want to do. And so some basic strike facts. The strike authorization vote, what does it do? It gives it does not mean we are striking on a certain date. What the strike authorization vote does is give the bargaining team authority to call a strike. This is the biggest and most important tool that we have to push OHSU to give us the best offer possible. And what does it mean to strike? Striking means not working. You are withholding your work until the employer makes an offer that meets our demands. You are not able to use accruals during that time. And so we have some commonly asked questions that we can go into, but we want to check in with the team. Anything we want to add to that before I go through those?
I think you've covered it pretty well.
Okay, then I'm going to go through these questions that a lot of people are likely to ask, and then so we'll knock those out. You can still ask them in the chat if you want us to elaborate on some of them. We're just trying to get to the things that a lot of people, before you start typing, we can get to some of the things that we're sure you're probably going to ask about. All right, do I have to picket? Okay, do I have to picket to strike? No, but we do need folks on the line. That said, if you're a teleworker who's far away or out of state or something, we don't expect you to fly to Portland to be on the line if you live in, say, Virginia. We don't expect you to be on the line, but we do expect folks not to work. So teleworkers, yes, you can strike, just don't work, especially if you're outside the area. Do we get paid when we're on strike? No. And can we use vacation or sick time? No. The one wrinkle to that, but it's probably not going to happen, is theoretically, if you were on vacation, already scheduled vacation when a strike happens, they could let you use your accruals because it was something pre-planned, but what they're likely to do is to cancel your vacation because of the strike. So that's a tiny window. Folks who are on FMLA, that's a bit different too. But again, that's basically say no, and then there might be tiny exceptions, but they're very narrow, and they're not ones you're going to be able to like fit yourself into. There might be some slivers where you can use accruals, but they're not going to be things that you can like pre-plan. They're just going to be weird accidents. How does this impact our healthcare? If we strike, we'll coordinate so that folks' healthcare is protected for as long as possible. So if we work the first day of the month, we have benefits for the whole month. So for example, we would choose to strike early in the month so our healthcare lasted as long as that month at least. We're never going to, start a strike on the 30th or 31st. That's just not what we're going to do. Can I be fired for striking? No. Striking is a right that all Americans have. And when you have a union, you have additional protections. Now we have some caveats on that. Because the folks who are on a H-1B visa or people who are on probation, they may still need to go to work. We'll have like buttons for you saying you support the strike. You can always come out and join us during your lunch. But we're not trying to create a situation where that small number of people are going to get in trouble. But the rest of us, we're A-okay. Can employees in probational status strike? So yes, you can, but for folks who are in an initial service, it can be particularly stressful, but they cannot fire you for striking. And if they did, we would protect you. For anyone who is in this situation, we can issue badges, like I said. Can non-members vote? No, only members can vote. So you can sign up to be a dues-paying member by going to our website and clicking the join button. But if you're not a dues-paying member, you don't get to participate in the vote. Can non-members strike? Yes. You can join us on the line, whether you're paying dues or not. You just don't get to participate in that vote. Are there benefits for striking? No. However, state law has changed, so the striking workers are eligible for unemployment benefits after 2 weeks of striking. Those take effect in 2026. So if we go on strike, January 3rd or something, we're not going to go on the 1st. Going to let everybody get through their hangover first. We could, if we strike past 2 weeks, we would start getting unemployment benefits. What happens if we have a TA and it gets voted down by members? It's likely that any ratification, so like let's say we get a tentative agreement, we bring it to the membership, they vote no. It's likely that any ratification vote we have, we'll have a choice. Ratify the TA or call a strike within a 10 to 15 day range. So it's a kind of a binary choice at that point. We do have a strike resources page. If you go to our website, it's at blog/2022-strike.info, but there's also, I believe there is just a link at the top. Yeah, there's a strike FAQ at the top. So just go to local328.org, and then in that top bar, you'll see on the right side, bargaining 2025, strike info, FAQ, search and join are together there in a group. All right. So that's what we had pre-prepared as questions. Now we'll get started with what's in here.
Okay, so the first question we have is from Daniel. Are we able to be here during work hours? So do we have anybody who would like to answer that in the room? Feel free to pipe up. But Daniel, if you were asking if we go on strike, are you able to be on the OHSU campus? The short answer is yes. However, if you are a striking worker, please do not cross the strike line. We need you out on the strike line. And the reason for that is that in a strike, we withhold our work from OHSU. That is how we push the employer to make gain or to make movement in the negotiation process. However, it is very important that the employer can look out the window and see how many people they have who have walked off the job. It sends a really powerful message, and it also sends a message to the community about how many people have walked off the job. And that is why we really need people to be on the strike line. Again, if you are a remote worker and it's not easy for you to get to Portland, that's fine. You're still doing your part by withholding work.
And if it's this meeting specifically you're asking about, if it's not disruptive to your workday, right? Obviously, you can't like leave an operating room to attend this meeting. But if it's not disruptive to your workday, you can. And we're also recording it, so everybody can look at it later. Kayla, the next question in here, we did sort of answer during the Q&A, or during the frequently asked questions part, but member question for my unit, I have a question about what happens should we go on strike. Should this happen, do you know if there's a way we would be able to file for unemployment or anything of that nature? So yes, we can, but that goes into effect January 2026. It is a brand new law that was just passed maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And it's partially a response to the Providence strike because they were in strike for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to plan an open-ended strike. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll be on strike for 2 weeks, right? Our goal is not to go on strike at all. Our goal is to get OHSU to realize how serious we are and bring more money to the table. Because that's the main thing, is we realize that they have hit a wall where they've been allocated this many dollars, but we want this many dollars. So how do we get them to add to get their higher ups to release the purse strings and give us more to work with? Because they've used what they've been allocated. So this is our way to do that, to make them realize that we'll withhold our labor if we have to, but nobody wants us to have to.
A strike is not good for the employer, it's not good for us, it's not good for the community. But at the end of the day, we will fight and withhold our labor to get a contract that we deserve.
Yeah. Okay. Majority vote. So a question from Carol Wall about how our vote works. So our Constitution requires a strike vote to have 60% of our membership, our dues paying membership, participate in the strike and have voted yes. So if 60% exactly vote and one person votes no, then it's not authorized, right? If 59% vote, even if it's 100% yes, then it's not authorized. We have to have at least a 60% participation, which is a big ask in a union this large, right? We've got 8,500 people-ish that are represented by the unit. There's what, 6,800-ish that are members?
Correct.
So that's a lot of people, and that's why our bargaining team, most of them you'll see, are in a conference room. They're on campus. They're out there trying to get getting the vote done. I'm home working on the costing and the stuff that the state needs, and also just in case something went wrong with the conference room. We have to have a huge turnout. So it's vitally important, first of all, that everyone here vote, but also talk to your coworkers and make sure they're voting. Even if they are someone who is going to vote no, we still want their participation in the vote. Part of the reason, and I'm sure some of you have heard me give this speech 80 times, but part of the reason the nurses got what they got last time is 96% of their membership voted in their strike authorization. So they didn't need to go on strike because OHSU saw, well, basically all of them said, I will. If we could get that kind of participation, OHSU is going to move mountains to keep us from getting there, because they're going to know, first of all, that we're willing to do it, but also that we're actually going to be out on that line. You know, if they find out that we had a 62% participation, that is a lot less scary for them, even if all of us vote yes, because that means that, oh, well, we've got like 38% that may or may not participate in the strike. So we want that number to be as high as possible. We may or may not publish it, right? If we get 96% of the membership to vote in any election, we're probably going to publish that. But like if we get 75%, maybe that's enough that we feel confident in the strike vote, but we're not necessarily going to publish that because we don't want OHSU to sit there and think about, well, what can we do with that 25% who didn't vote, right? It's a strategic decision, but it will be shared with like union leadership and such.
One
You're on
other,
mute.
oh, what's that?
You're on mute.
No, they can hear.
Oh,
One other thing that I would add to that is, when in thinking about the Q&A that we went through, can you be a non-member and strike? And the answer is yes, it's very helpful. However, when OHSU thinks about what would happen in a strike, they are banking that if you are not a dues paying member, you won't be striking. They are banking that you're gonna show up at work and you're gonna do your job. That is partially why our membership numbers are so important, to show that the majority of represented employees are dues paying members and are going to walk out on the line. It is so very powerful.
Next one in the queue here, within ITG, we have scheduled processes. This is from Jason. Jason Oliver. We have scheduled processes that run on a recurring basis, like daily, weekly, monthly, under our user ID. I've had other union employees ask whether we are allowed to unschedule those processes if we go on strike. You have some advice you can provide on that. That's a tricky one. So one of the things that people do is a work to rule. So you don't want to do something that is, say, intentionally like sabotaging. You know, we're not literally throwing our wooden shoes into the machine to break it, right? But there are plenty of unions that when they've gone on strike, the proper procedure is to lock up the keys on your way out, like lock everything down, but they never do it because then it's a pain in the butt for the next group that comes in. So they just like do an abbreviated handoff. Well, you're not going to do an abbreviated handoff if we're going on strike. Do it exactly to the letter. There are plenty of people who have done more than doing things to the letter. And we can probably protect you if you do, but talk to us about it beforehand. You know, reach out to one of us or the bargaining at Local 328 with what your ideas are, and we'll help you figure out how far you can push those things. For the most part, you want to stick to the rules, but sometimes those rules as written are actually pretty lenient and you have a lot of room to screw things up. I can't remember where it was, but I remember someone talking about they went on strike and they, you know, locked everything up where it was supposed to be, and management showed up to like do the job, and they had no idea where to even find keys to unlock things to get it started because they never had to do it. That's perfectly fine.
I would say, this is just me thinking, we have not, excuse me, we have not called for a strike. We have not authorized a strike. As of today, there is no plan to strike. If one were to de-automate their work proceedings in a normal capacity in a normal workday, before a strike was ever authorized, I don't think you would need to worry. I will leave it at that.
Yeah, and we'll iron out those details when and if we get to that point where we're like, well, we're going in 10 days. Have last best been given? Has the 30 days started? Yes, they have. As far as like basic, here's what we pass to the employer. We're putting together all the paperwork that the state requires, which is a lot. So we're working on that right now as far as actually turning it into the state. It started as of last Wednesday. So we are, 6 days in. Do we have an option to continue to work? What if we cannot afford to not work? This is from Jennifer. That's a hard one because, we don't want to see anyone lose their housing, go hungry. What I'll say is unions come and help each other. People in unions come and help each other, right? If you're worried about not being able to eat, someone will feed you. If you're in a situation where it's that razor thin, someone will, I'm sure someone will help. Our goal is not to strike. Our goal is to get them to realize that we're willing to and to step down. But if we actually call for that strike, it is vitally important that we have everyone who possibly can be on the line. And then if it is a real hardship for you, talk to people and we'll do our best to help each other out. That's what a union is it's us helping each other out. It's when the boss is a jerk to you, it matters to me, and vice versa.
But that I would like to add, I've been on the OHSU Safe Staffing Committee for the past few months, and to see the amount of deviations from the staffing plans is mind-blowing. We have a department that's had deviations every single day since July 17th. The reason I say that is OHSU can't staff most of their units. If every single one of our members were to walk out in one day, do you think OHSU could get 8,500 scabs to do our jobs? And the answer is no. They can't staff their critical departments every day. We can bring the operations to a halt if we all committed 4 hours on the first day. And we absolutely can come together and support each other to make that happen. But if we commit and we do it together, we are going to win, and we will win quickly.
Yeah, the more of us who go out, the faster the strike will be resolved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last meeting, someone made me emotional. One of our longtime members was like, I'm bringing food, right? Like, if anybody can't eat, just tell me and I'll have you taken care of, right? We will take care of each other should it happen.
Absolutely.
And okay, so good question from Kayla. If we, with the unemployment after 2 weeks and the new law in Oregon, if I don't live in Oregon anymore, can we still get that? It is a state-by-state thing. Oregon isn't the only state with that, but I think it's just Oregon, Washington, and California, maybe. There aren't a lot of states that have that. That said, you know, if you talk to our political action folks, I'm sure they can help you start laying groundwork to get that in your state, but it is a state-by-state thing. So if you're in, you know, Montana, no, sorry, that wouldn't apply to you. We talked about this a little bit. Brianna asked, what if I have vacation scheduled during the strike? They're probably going to cancel your vacation. They're probably going to tell you, sorry, too bad, so sad, you don't get to take it. So there's the possibility that, you know, if you planned a trip to Paris 4 years ago and it just happens to be when we planned the strike, they could let you still keep that vacation, but that's entirely the employer's decision. Yeah. Okay, scroll back up to the top. It popped me to the bottom. All right. Oh, every time you resolve one, it pushes me back to the bottom.
What if we have a vacation scheduled during the strike?
Yeah, I just did that one.
Oh, perfect.
I know you probably can't say yet, but do we have an idea of whether it will be an open-ended or strike or a specific timeline? We don't know that yet. We really don't. For the most part, the ones with a specific time frame are usually unfair labor practice or ULP strikes, where they're like, we're going on strike because OHSU is screwed up in this way, so we're going on strike for 3 days because of that, right? That sort of thing. So that's, if we do a specific timeline related strike, it will probably be something along those lines. We'll dig through that. Our goal right now is just get the strike authorization vote. At every stage of escalation, we hope it's the last stage of escalation we have to do. Nothing would make us happier than going in next Tuesday and OHSU just being like, well, sure, here you go. Right? We don't want to have to keep doing all the escalations, but so we don't have that entirely ironed out. We will talk it to death. I'm sure my team will agree, because a thing to know about bargaining teams is that we always do everything based on consensus. So if one person in the room says no, we're not doing it. This is a lengthy and sometimes frustrating process, but it helps make sure that everyone's heard, everyone has that say. I'm a salaried worker who doesn't clock in or out. If we strike, will I be paid, or would I only be paid if I log in? You'd only be paid if you log in, right? They're going to be looking for who didn't, and Jen knows better.
Maybe. I mean, like, how good is your manager at actually checking to see if you are working in a day? I think it's going to matter, but I think it's going to be different department by department. I'm sure that management's going to get like a SOP of what to do if we call a strike and how to ensure if people are working or not. But again, OHSU, all of their main functions are done by us. Payroll, done by us.
Yeah.
Chronos, done by us. Everything, done by us. If we're not doing it, I just don't feel like OHSU is going to have the wherewithal to know if you are actually working or to stop any automated processes that it has for running payroll. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, top to bottom payroll does.
We are OHSU, and I know that can sound like a gimmicky tagline, but it's the absolute truth.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, don't do intentional time theft. But if
No.
somebody screws up, then somebody screws up. What are you going to do? I'm going to answer this one a little bit out of sequence because I want to type the answer as well. I have a specific experience to share, and I prefer not to post publicly. How can I share it? Send an email if you feel uncomfortable doing it somewhere. You can always use like a Proton mail or something to send it to us. But send an email to bargaining@local328.org. I'm going to also type the answer so that you can copy and paste easily. And I'll say that's also just good. That's good advice in general. Think about where you're giving information. I know that some people sort of chafe at how we moderate the blog, but we're responsible for what we publish, and we don't want to platform something that's going to get someone in trouble. So, sometimes folks want to share things in a blog comment that just that's not the right avenue for it. So use the correct avenue. If it's too spicy for the blog, then we don't want to put it there. We want to make sure you have a safer way to share that. So that's probably the best way. Or if you know any of us on the bargaining team, you can also just reach out to us and we'll give you a call or something too. What is from Elizabeth? What is a tentative date the strike would start? We don't know yet. The soonest it could start would be 30 days from last Wednesday, because the 30 days cooling off period and the 10-day notice that we have to give OHSU legally can run concurrent. So 20 days into the cooling off period, we could say, hey, we're going on strike at the end of this. Are we going to on December 4th? Probably not, but we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. The whole thing is, let's get the strike authorization vote done, which that should just be eyes on the prize. Talk to everyone get that done. Because the higher that number is, the less likely it is that we're going to have to actually declare a strike.
Absolutely. And on that note, Advanced Practice United, they had a strike authorization vote, and like almost the next, I think it was the next day, an amazing offer from OHSU. I don't think anyone at OHSU has been on strike since the early 90s. And this, unfortunately, is a pattern that happens at OHSU. I'm not going to lie and say it is absolutely I'm positive that if we have a successful strike authorization, we won't strike. I can't say that. But if history is anything to be, I mean, we just had a union authorize a strike vote and they got a wonderful contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. The graduate workers too. They walk us to the line every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Last time we got that, what ended up being the TA, the day before we were, to have a peek behind the curtain, we were like, I think we're going to have to announce the strike. And we were talking about when we would do that we were probably going to do it within the next few days, maybe even the next day. It's like, well, if they don't move on this by this date, we're going to have to. And then they did, because they knew that we were getting to that line where we were probably about to announce it. They don't even want us to announce a strike. They don't want each escalation to even happen. So just something to keep in mind there. Can satellite location strike? I'll do these in order, actually. John asks, if we strike, how long after we decide to end the strike do we return to work? That's negotiated at the table. So usually it'll be like we're going to end the strike, everybody back to work in 6 hours or 8 hours or 9 a.m. tomorrow or something like that. So we'll work that out at the table as like a final, because that's just logistics, right? You can't, if you thought you were on strike, you might have slept in. We're not trying to create a situation where anybody's tardy, right? It'll be, okay, strikes over, back to work at X time. Can satellite locations, this is from Michaela, can satellite locations strike at our home clinics, or do we have to come to Portland? We'll also talk about that. That'll be part of what we do in our planning stages, because what's going to create the best optics? Everyone at main campus, or, you know, are those community places, even if it's just a few people? You know, if you've got like 3 people that are local 328 in your building, is it going to look powerful for those 3 people to be outside? That's really honestly a question location by location. So we'll talk about the logistics of that. We want to have the most impact. So if being at your home clinic is going to have the most impact, that's what we'll do.
And on that note, if we do all strikes at AFSCME Council 75, which is our state council for AFSCME, every single strike is worked through and planned. Like, a huge amount of logistics go into it. So it will be well planned, and everyone will get that information well in advance about where we are picketing, what you can do, what resources there will be. So that all is happening even as early as last week. We were having those logistics meetings about where we want to target, how we want to target, making sure that we are getting permits to do so. There's a huge logistical lift, and they're already in process.
Okay. What about layoffs? If OHSU decides to give more money for our wages, is there anything to help protect our job? It's a complicated answer, because we're negotiating layoff language, because we know what went wrong last year. We're trying to fix those things, which OHSU has an interest in that too. So I'm confident we're going to come out of this with better layoff language than we started, much better language than when we started. And part of what we do with the layoff language is make it expensive, right? We make it so it hurts OHSU when they do layoffs in a financial way, because that's our number one way to make it painful. So there's that, right? That's one of our mechanisms. All the things that exist, like the preferential hire list and such, through that layoff language, helps alleviate that. Now, that said, OHSU last year, let's be blunt, they had layoffs for basically no reason. They can have layoffs whenever they want to do layoffs. They are the employer. That is entirely within their right. We can't stop them from having layoffs. We can just make it expensive. We can make it logistically difficult, but that is their right to do so. They did it last year to improve their credit rating, to buy a hospital, and then it didn't happen. So
and they hired everyone back.
Yeah, they hired a lot of folks back. That it was a haphazard nonsense process. And most of the people involved in making that happen are gone now, or will be soon. So don't think of it as if we ask for too much, they're going to lay people off. They're going to lay people off in whatever way they decide to, for whatever reasons they come up with. We can't stop them from doing that. So don't think of it as cause and effect. Just know that we're doing our best to make sure we have the best protections possible to get you through if you are laid off, get you another job at OHSU, get you severance on the way out the door, get you paid out for your vacation as you leave, all those things that make it expensive for OHSU to get rid of any of us, especially the ones of us that have been here a while. I hope that's helpful.
Also, they laid off the people that they thought that they could do without last year, and they really do need us. Unless they change the missions, unless they change like structurally how OHSU is run, they really do need us to do the work. They're not in a position where they have like a surplus of workforce. Like, they're not able to fully staff right now as it is. And the people that they laid off, the administrative staff, a lot of those jobs, they ended up actually losing money because we're doing necessary work at OHSU. We really do run this place, and they can't do it without us. If they would agree to not lay people off, that would be something that we would seriously consider, but they won't agree to that.
No. In fact, one of the Research Workers United bargaining sessions I was able to attend. I haven't been able to do that as much. I've been going to a lot of their bargaining stuff. I haven't been able to do it as much as all of our stuff hit the fan. But they just bluntly ask at the table, okay, well, you're saying if we ask for this, there might be layoffs. If we don't ask for it, will there not be layoffs? And it was just sort of like, so they're never going to make that promise. They can't make that promise.
Did they say it's a management right? That's what I've heard. They're not gonna bargain against themselves.
If you're ever on a bargaining team, those words will be triggering for you. They make me want to vomit every time I hear them. Are we able from Sally?
Mike put coins in. He never says that.
From Sally, are we able to attend patient appointments as a patient during a strike? Yes, absolutely. Like, take your badge off before you walk in, or put a button on, I'm a patient too. Maybe we'll make those. You know, I don't just work here, I'm a patient, you know, that sort of thing. We'll have something along those lines. Yeah. I don't know if you can see these messages, but when and if we do strike, is the plan to hopefully strike only 1 to 3 days, or at least a full week? We don't know. We're not going to say ahead of time. And yeah, OHSU watches everything. The bargaining team from OHSU talks to me more about our blog comments than our members do. They look at everything. They will probably have someone watch this when the recording goes up. But we just don't know what that strategy will be. We'll make that decision based on where we're at the time. Remember, when we started bargaining, we had a different president at OHSU and a different president in Washington, D.C. We were going to buy a hospital and didn't. Our CFO is leaving, right? Like, a lot of things change. So we don't want to say this is what we'll do for anything, much less something like that that's really strategic. From Brett, what is the date of impasse ends and potential strike starts? We don't have a potential date for the strike, but December 4th would be the first day that it is eligible for us to be. I think we answered this one from Shannon about satellite clinics. From Teresa, what are we looking at regarding how long the strike will last? We've talked about this. Just clearing out some of the ones that people ask early. We talked about this. Do you think we'd strike until January, wait till January to go on strike? We talked about this. I'm a lead for a department. I'm able to send email to my team. We're all remote, making sure am I able to send a message to my team to make sure that they all vote? Also, is there somewhere I can refer to them if they don't get the union's updates currently? Go ahead, Jenny.
Yes, so when you are communicating, if you are not an officer of the local, on the board of the local, or a steward, you the contract provisions that apply to you are under Article 2. Basically, there are none for you. But you do have to honor OHSU's communications policies. So you cannot email more than 50 people at a time, but you can email your group about union-related activities. That is a legal right of yours. So just make sure that the number of recipients follows OHSU's policies, and you should be good. If you are a steward, an officer, a member of the board, or a union official, there are contract requirements in our contract under Article 2, I believe it's 2.11, but I might be wrong, that states when, how often, and how many people you can email. But really, when we are communicating to our colleagues in our work unit about union activities and voting, it's really only OHSU policy that you have to worry about. And please, 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 please communicate with your work group, because when they see an email from info@local328.org or a name that they don't recognize, they don't care. Like, I have a job where I get hundreds of emails a day and I have to screen. I honestly have to screen. So, and I know that a lot of you are in the same position. If they see a trusted name, they're more likely to open that email and to talk to you. So it's vital. Your communication is going to be stronger and more important than ours, always.
If you can talk about your pets or the weather, you can talk about our union.
Yes.
Right. So there is a line, obviously, but you know, it's a pretty obvious one. How many people have voted so far? Quite a few. We don't typically share those numbers, right? But we're making great progress. We had, I know the text chain was already going off like an hour after the voting started, or a couple hours after voting started. A lot of people were just waiting for it to go live.
We had a great strike authorization vote last contract.
Mhm.
This one is on the same track except turbocharged.
Yeah.
It's great. Keep it up.
And you know, we expect to see a lot of people vote right at, you know, Sunday, Monday, the first couple days, because it's all the people who are paying attention. The whole rest of this week is us trying to reach all the folks who've missed things. Part of that question was also asking, where do I send them if they're not getting union updates? I'd say the blog is always a good place to check in. They can also, if they're not getting our emails, then something's up and they may want to log into the hub and like update their information or make sure it's correct or something along those lines. We talked about this a bit. Shayna asked, the highest paid per hour is 104 per hour. Lowest is 1884 per hour. It's actually lower than that. For the pay scale posted on O2, or at least data I looked at in March that was like every single person and what they made. Can you please address people who cannot afford to strike? We talked about that a bit, but you know, we'll take care of each other during a strike. I'm in the bottom half of both median and average wage at OHSU. I can't afford to strike, but I will. And what you'll find is a lot of people on the low end of that understand the power and the necessity of doing so. It's not something that any of us should take lightly or should decide lightly. And certainly as a member of the bargaining team who will, you know, be one of the folks making that final decision, I take it incredibly seriously. And that's, we did talk about it a bit. Melissa asks, what happens if someone is out on FMLA and using accruals during that time when a strike is declared? That's one of those narrow situations where I think that you'll still be able to use your accruals. Now that said, don't try to plan for it. But if it just happens to happen, you know, if you're pregnant and you have your baby, you know, a week before the strike, then that's just what happened, right? But don't try to game it, because that could end really poorly. Yeah, you can always decide. I like this from Michael. You can always decide it's a good time to change your password before you go on strike. Yeah, absolutely. This is some of that work to rule stuff, right? If the rules say that something's supposed to take 15 minutes, well, take 15 minutes, even if it normally takes you 3. If the rules say that you lock up on the way out, make sure all the locks are in place. Will they disable our accounts and email? That's a good question. I feel like Eric probably knows better than anyone, but they haven't put anyone. We haven't had a strike here since I think it was like 2002. So
we haven't had a strike since before there were computers. I would find it highly unlikely, because who's going to go in and do the locking out?
Yeah.
We would.
Yeah. Just the results from the RFI do not make me feel confident that OHSU can identify who is a local 328 worker and then like I just yeah. Plus, how do they know if you're going to be striking or not? They don't know.
Oh,
you know, if we're on strike for a month, maybe, but
your accounts and turn them off.
Yeah. Understand this is an organization that sends us PDFs of data, right?
Yeah.
And never what we asked for. So
they also say clearing out old discipline over 2 years is administratively burdensome. They can't do it. Like locking out your account access that's administratively burdensome. Lord.
Yeah. Can you union assure us the academic calendar is being looked at? And then they give some context. This is from Brian. Within the academic mission, many of us have our biggest lull in workload the last 3 weeks in December. Our school is actually closed for 2 full weeks the last part of December. For me, it would feel like a waste to support a strike or go on strike at a time when I would not be missed. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's part of what we're looking at. I know we weren't ready for it, but like we were looking at, oh, hey, all the residents just started. Wouldn't this be a funny time for us to go on strike when they couldn't get their questions answered, right? We're looking at all those things and taking them into account.
Yeah. And something else to keep in mind, we are not the only union at the table.
Yeah.
So there is a lot that we can leverage right now with the right timing. We are absolutely looking at timing.
Let's see. With onboarding at OHSU takes 6 months in any given position. No way could our jobs be covered. That's absolutely right. You know, they might be able to get a skeleton crew to keep the place from burning down, but not for very long. Is parental leave affected if a strike is declared?
I think that they would have a legal problem on their hands if they did that.
Yeah.
I don't know 100%, but my gut tells me that that is a federally protected leave. And if they were to take that away from you, you could absolutely go down a legal pathway for that. That should, the same thing with FMLA, that should not be touched at all. And your manager should not, if you were on a leave, a medical leave, your manager should not be contacting you at all, period. They should not be contacting you to see if that you'll be striking when you're on leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, contact us if they do.
And we'll get into all of those weeds, like those, if we declare a strike, those 10 days before the strike starts, we'll just have like a fire hose of information for people too. You know, we're trying to get into the weeds a little bit here, but we'll turbocharge that if a strike is actually declared so people know exactly where they stand. Craig asks, can the institution realistically afford the terms being proposed? Is there data available that reconciles our financial proposal with the institution's current earnings and budget position? I'm having a difficulty understanding the scale of the gap between our proposals and the institution's offers. It appears significant. It is. Though I don't have the access to underlying numbers, please point us towards the actual financial figures or supporting analysis if available. I feel like Tabitha's going to have a lot to say on this.
The answer is OHSU has an immense amount of wealth. We've worked extensively with a researcher to do financial analysis. They know that they have the wealth to be able to afford this, I think, because in the last news article I read, they said basically they're working to ensure that OHSU is going to be sustainable for generations to come. And like what we're saying right now is OHSU is not sustainable for the current workforce that they have in this generation. So yes, we are far apart on numbers. We are not there. They have enough funds for everyone to make a living wage. Their budget is $5.5 billion a year. So when they're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, like $500 million is less than a tenth of their budget for 1 year. And so we are far apart, but yes, we know that they can afford this if they want to. They're able to offer their executives like 50% more than the previous ones, and that's not even close to what we're asking for. They're able to find the money for consultants, they're able to find the money for lawsuits, they're able to find the money for bonuses, they're able to find the money for buildings. They're able to find the money when they want to buy an entire hospital. They have the money, they can't afford to do this. We need to move them so that they are willing to spend the money on us. We are the ones who are not able to afford what they can afford, and we need to see that at the table. There is no reason why a worker who is working at such a wealthy organization should not be making a living wage. There is no reason, and the bargaining team is strong on that point. We want to see that at the table. We want to see every member of Local 328 able to afford to survive and to thrive in this world. It is hard times. We're looking at a scary future, and the best things that we can do to shore up the future for our members is to get a living wage and a fair wage for all of us.
Absolutely. One thing I'll add on to that, you may have seen postings for scabs. OHSU is offering to pay $4,055 a week to a property specialist.
A property
a property specialist. That's $4,055 a week over one pay period. That's over $8,100 in a pay period for a strike breaker. If they're willing to invest that much money in a strike breaker, they can invest that much money in you.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They have it in their budget.
They've got the money.
And now, you know, I guess don't quote me because this is just my math, but I was playing around with budget numbers Friday. And it looks to me like OHSU could bring everyone to $22 an hour, everyone who's under that, for around $1 million a year.
What is the percentage of the budget? You said a figure that was like, what?
Yeah, it's like $1 million to get everyone to $22 an hour. According to my math, admittedly, I could be wrong, but you know, I double checked myself. That's nothing to them.
Yeah.
It's
They
less
waste-
than what their CEO makes.
It's a
It's
rounding
a
error.
drop.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
drop in the
yeah.
bucket.
So understand our frustration with them on a lot of this stuff. We are looking at scary times ahead. You know, the Medicare and Medicaid issues, the NIH, all of that is scary, but they're a very wealthy organization. And you know what? They're not going to just decide not to get a new MRI machine if they need one.
And
The cost of our labor has gone up.
And on top of that, they've got new revenue streams coming in. Like the Vista Pavilion building is gonna be online next year. That's a huge building with a bunch of beds in it. They're gonna be making more money. Like, and we've made this point before, but I just wanna say it again. I've been in the union for many cycles at this point. Every cycle, it's the same song and dance. Tabitha did a great blog post about it. They constantly talk about how little money they have, and then the moment we get it signed, suddenly beaucoup bucks. Where does this money come from? From magic? I don't think so. They've got it. They can give it to us. We deserve it. We work hard for it.
And we came down significantly in the overall cost of our proposals so that we could focus that on the wages, right?
Yeah, it's not like we're not being reasonable,
No.
you know?
Yeah. So we did, you know, we cut, well, it would be hard to do estimates on it, but we cut probably hundreds of millions of dollars from our proposal because we asked for everything and then we figure out what can we actually get. What can remote workers do? This is from Jessica. What can remote workers do who are not in Portland area to support the workers on the line in the event of a strike? I mean, the number one thing is make sure that you're not working, you know, show the solidarity that way.
I would say, just if I can jump in real quick.
Yeah.
As sort of the IT guy on the team, if we do go out on strike, remote workers, if you can make an auto reply for your email and for your teams that says, I'm out on strike for
A living wage.
a living wage or for a particular thing that is important to you in our contract. So every time someone sends you a Teams message looking for something, anytime someone sends you an email, they're getting that kicked back at them. And then that just spreads out, that ripples out to all across the institution.
Yeah. Will we be comped back pay? That would be, that's something we have to negotiate at the table. In the event of a strike, we'd have to, it all depends on the deal that we get. So that's not a yes or no question. It's a, you know, depends what happens at the time. If it's a very successful strike, if all, you know, if 95% of us walk out on the line, then that becomes a lot more likely than if, you know, 70% of us do, right? So the stronger the strike is, the more likely it is we get things like back pay. So Savannah, we did answer this a little late. Sorry if I already asked. Do we think it's more likely to strike before or after the new year if there's no movement by OHSU? We don't have an exact thing on that. The first date that we could strike would be December 4th. We are always more likely to strike at the beginning of the month than in the middle or end of the month because of how our insurance benefits work. That as long as you work the first day of the year, you get benefits for the rest of the month, or the first day of the month, you get benefits for the rest of the month. So that is a likely thing. But we're not going to give, OHSU looks at everything. So we are not going to tip our hand too much. Good point from Leah Witt, one of our great stewards. And vacation cancellation will happen regardless if you walk out or if you cross the line. You aren't going to be able to take a vacation in lieu of walking out. You aren't going to be able to take a vacation instead of crossing the line and weakening the strike. Yeah, that's true. If we declare a strike and they start canceling vacations, they're going to cancel them for everyone, right? You're going to have to go on strike or go to work.
One question, will we be comped back pay? Did you get that one, Jesse?
Yeah, I did.
Perfect, sorry.
Yeah. Let's see, from Faith. If we go on strike when it begins, but later the strike lasts longer than expected, we decide we want to come back to work before it ends, and we return to work for a few days and then go back on strike again. Or once we cross the picket line and return to work, we're no longer protected and required to keep working instead of striking again. That's a good question.
I don't think that it would be a problem, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
We can definitely get an answer and put an update on the Q&A, but my understanding is you are not locked into a decision. You know, people do change their minds and cross the picket line or decide like, hey, actually, I am going to stand with my coworkers and do this. So, yeah, but we will find out for sure.
Yeah. Non-members are able to strike even though they can't vote. We did talk about this earlier, but yes, that is true. Even if you're not a member, even if you can't vote, if the strike is happening, we'd love to have you on the line. And, you know, if you want to sign a membership card while you're there. Let's see. Is back pay for the time spent on working? Oh, wait, doing them out of order. From Lisa. What is OHSU suggesting for years 1, 2, and 3? If they come back with another set of numbers, do members vote for whether or not we agree to it, or does the negotiating committee make the decision? Until we have a tentative agreement, all of the choices are the bargaining team. The final decision comes to the membership once we have the best contract we believe we can get, and we bring that to you. You decide if it was good enough or not. But we make all the decisions up to that point, and it's a hell of a job. Let's see, and then what was the last part of that? What OHSU's current offers. Their current offer is $1 or $22 minimum wage in year 1, 2.75% in years 2 and 3. Right? Am I remembering correctly? Is back pay for the time spent working without a contract something that OHSU will need to address before a strike is concluded, or is that a matter that would be negotiated after a hypothetical strike? It would be part of what we're negotiating at the table, right? All of that is at the table. Let's see. What will happen with bargaining if the strike authorization fails? Well, we just have to go with what OHSU has offered in their final offer? Probably. Yeah,
this is, we declared impasse because we felt like OHSU was not going to make any further movement. And this is the next step to show that we are serious. And if we don't have our membership behind us to keep fighting, we are going to have to accept what OHSU's last offer was. So that is why it is so important for our membership to turn out and vote. It does not mean that you are signing your life away to strike. It means that you trust us to fight until we think we have something fair, and that you will stand behind us if we need to do it. And again, I cannot reiterate as enough, please let your fellow members know that if we truly do this together, it will only last a couple of hours. We had a solidarity break with our custodial staff a few years ago. It certainly wasn't, you know, an unauthorized strike. It brought operations in that area to a screeching halt. It was something that had to be remedied immediately. And that when that happened, I knew the power that we had in our bargaining unit. If we all walk out together, we will all win together. We will.
There's still a ton of questions in the chat, and we are at 1 o'clock or 12:59. Why don't we do a cutoff here and maybe give it another, how would folks feel about another 10 minutes? And then if folks have to drop off, you have to drop off. It's fine. We're recording it, and we'll try to get everything from the chat so that we can try to answer questions later. You can always email us. If you have a question we didn't get to, please email us that bargaining@local328.org. We do want to answer your questions.
Can I tell you some questions? I think I'm going to go through it really quickly.
Yeah.
Are we getting any support, or can we expect to get support from the governor? And I will say that we have a political team at Council 75 that has already gotten signatures from legislators saying that they support our bargaining team and that they are going to commit to pushing OHSU's top levels of leadership to negotiate with us further at the table. So that is something that we are already working on, and we do have support from legislature to keep fighting.
This is a good question. I'm sort of cherry picking because we're over time. Have people been able to figure out re-sign up is needed on the hub? I was able to vote, but I had to sign up again for the hub. Unsure if it was addressed to the group. We didn't talk about that here, but if you're having trouble getting into the hub, yeah. Good, Jenny.
We are aware of it, and we're trying to triage those. So if you're having problems, contact the Member Services Center at OregonAFSCME.org, or you can email IT@local328.org, and we should be able to get you some help, not right away, but within a couple of hours.
Yeah. So if you're having trouble, yeah, reach out. I like this one a lot too. Let's see.
Actually are double booked in our room, but just if you don't mind staying on.
Okay, it'll just be me. It'll just be me, but I'll try to knock some of these out.
Super quickly, on behalf of the bargaining team, thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you. We wouldn't do it without you. You're why we do it. And just thank you so much. It's amazing to see how many people are here supporting us, because it's super hard work, and we want to make OHSU the place that it should be worth working at. Bye, y'all.
All right, I'll see y'all later. Okay, for the rest of us, I like this question a lot. So research workers are still currently bargaining, and someone asked, could we theoretically go on strike at the same time? We could. They haven't declared impasse yet. They meet again on the November 17th is their next, so what, 6 days from now, is their next meeting with OHSU. I don't know if they'll declare impasse then. They have to make those decisions as what's best for their union, right? We are collaborating more than we've ever collaborated before with the other unions on the Hill, but we do all still have to make choices that are best for our unions within that collaboration. But theoretically, if they declare impasse and start on the same path, we could end up on strike at the same time. I like that question a lot. I just wanted to do that. When will this recording be available for those that could not attend? As soon as we can. I don't know. I'm not responsible for that end of it, so I can't tell you for sure. But I know we'll try to get that up as quickly as we can. Let's see. When will we be able to review OHSU's last best proposal? Probably once we have everything turned into the state, and they send us what they sent the state, we'll just put that up as well. So probably sometime tomorrow, as soon as we're able to. My intention is to be sure that everybody can look at the two proposals next to each other. We just don't have all of it together yet. Some of these last proposals we were doing, not to get too far into the weeds because our time is limited, but some of these last proposals we were doing, we were sending like bullet points of we'll move this, we'll move that, instead of 80-page documents where we did our line by line. So I don't have the line by lines of some of those last passes because we were trying to do them more quickly. We did talk about this a bit, Olivia. I just think it's so important. I want to answer it again. Can OHSU retaliate against probationary workers for expressing support for striking workers? It's a bit of a gray area. If you're worried that you're going to get fired, we don't want that to happen. We'll have like badges saying I'm in probation, but support my bargaining team, things like that. To talk about this again, why we don't share the pledge numbers and strike numbers, because we don't want OHSU to know them, because what they're looking for are weaknesses. We might be ecstatic about a 75% participation in a strike vote because it's a lot of people. It's just hard to get, 75% of our membership to do anything because there's so many of us. It's like 6,800 people that are dues paying members. But what OHSU would see is, oh, well, we got 25% to work with. And we keep things going with 25%. So we don't share those things because it makes sense strategically for us not to. That said, they are known within union leadership. It's not like one person knows and keeps it a secret. It's just we don't share it in these contexts because we don't want OHSU to know. And like I said earlier, OHSU talks to me more about our blog comments than anyone else does. They look at everything. Let's see. Once a person votes, are they able to change it? I would say if they would like to change their vote, to have them reach out to the IT chair to see if we can reset their vote. I don't know. I don't know for sure on that. That's a good question that I would have them reach out if they want to. Let's see. What would be the trigger at the end of a potential strike? Agreement to all our financial proposals. If we agree to end the strike, it's because we have a tentative agreement. So that would be, we're ending the strike, here's the tentative agreement, then we go to a ratification vote. Let's say we go on strike, just to explain what this process would be. We go on strike, we get a TA, we take it to the membership, and they refuse it, then that means we're going to go on strike again. Because that's what the vote will be. We're doing this or we're doing that. We're ratifying the contract or we're going on strike again. Obviously, that would be a pretty extreme situation. That's not one that any of us want to have to deal with. So it's not, but that's how it would mechanically work. Let's see. Yeah, good point from Angela. I'm just trying to cherry pick because we're so, we're running over. If they disable accounts, information will be lost. A lot of syncing for authentication to various systems. It's a very good point. They're not likely to restrict our access because honestly, what they're hoping for is, even if we go on strike, what they're hoping for is that they'll get the text at any minute saying the strike is over, your workers will be back in 3 hours or 6 hours or whatever. Let's see. So Amanda mentions they keep trying to screw everyone over and the contracts have started to overlap. Yeah, it's a them problem. And that's very true. They don't want to be bargaining multiple contracts at the same time. They try to space us out, but now there are enough unions on the Hill that is impossible, especially these. So a brand new contract is a lot more complicated than our updates. So like research workers, they're doing their brand new contract. APU, the Advanced Practitioners United, who are under ONA, they just did their new contract. Both of those processes took more than a year. And RWU is not done yet because all those things that we already agreed to about like email usage and all the stuff that, we never need to update because it's fine. They have to negotiate that for the first time. So even if they're just copying and pasting from our contract, it's just a complicated problem. And so those things have gotten like longer and longer as these new unions have rolled out. And right now they've started bargaining with ONA. They don't love the fact that they're running 3 big tables with thousands of people at the same time. It was 4, but APU got their first contract, which fantastic for them. I'm really happy for them. They got that TA, and hopefully that's just the pins that start going down.
Hey Jesse, I just want to flag that there's 2 minutes before we get booted from the call.
Okay, we're gonna get booted in 2 minutes. Rather than opening up any cans of worms, we'll try to go through this. Honestly, it's a very busy time for us. So we want to communicate with everyone, but if you ask something and we don't reach out with an answer or you don't see it on the blog or something, please feel free to let us know. We really want to answer everyone's questions. It's just, hard with everything that we have to do mechanically on the other end. Your support means the world to us. It's the only reason we have any power at the table at all. We're 12 or 15 really stubborn people who are willing to fight for you tooth and nail, but there's nothing behind that punch without your participation. So please be sure you vote. Be sure you get all your coworkers to vote. Even the ones that you're sure did, just reach out and say, hey, you did take part in the strike vote, right? If you can make sure that 3 people voted or 5 people voted, you'll have done that is the number one thing you can do to help with our union right now, is making sure everyone participates in the strike vote. If we had 96% of our membership vote, OHSU would find the money somewhere. They would turn that couch all the way upside down. So please just be sure you get everyone out. And it's an honor to get to do this. It's my favorite thing I get to do with the union, and they're going to kick us out. So I'll see you all around. Take care.